All right, welcome into the stream, everyone. My name is Doña, aka Doña the Light. Y'all know Kairu because he be making all the noises. Welcome back to my stream. If you're catching the stream live on Twitch, please feel free to contribute in the chat and share your thoughts, opinions, etc. I also want to remind y'all, if you're catching the replay on YouTube, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And this is going to play like a podcast. So put us on in the background, listen to us while you're driving to work, while you're at work, while you're getting ready for the day, whatever it is, we are here to share our thoughts on mental health. We're here to enrich conversations, and of course anybody that pops in the chat is going to enrich the conversation as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got good stuff. I got good content. I pinky promise. It's good stuff, okay? I guess he's talking today. Anywho, today I have an amazing guest with us, one of my very best friends, the love of my life, Miss Sabrina Wells. She is an emotional wellness coach, and she is here to talk to us about inner child healing. But first and foremost, Sabrina, tell us about yourself, babe.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and definitely happy to share what I do because it's my passion and it definitely lights me up. So there is a great focus on inner child healing in my practice. I coach Black women who usually are a little stuck, need some guidance, trying to figure out how to get through some things, and we dig deep. It typically starts, they typically reach out about relationship issues, and we quickly turn it to, well, let's talk about you, because we can only control what's going on with you. So let's discuss that. And we end up pulling out a lot of things, and including inner child healing, because a lot of times as adults, the beliefs we have come from childhood, teenage years. I mean, also adulthood too, but a lot of it is mainly from back then. And so when someone has like self-confidence issues, it's not something that just popped up out of nowhere. A lot of times, sometimes it does, but a lot of times it's because somebody said something way back in the day and that stuck with us, or they repeatedly said something. And so it's just super important to just kind of peel back those layers and sit with what's going on. And with the inner child work is the inner child play. So not only do we discuss what we need to work on, but how can we fix this? And sometimes there's fun ways to fix it. It's not all crying and going within. Sometimes it's slapping on some roller skates and going out in the sunshine and playing your favorite song and just enjoying yourself. So yeah, it's a really cool dynamic.
Yes, I love that. Hold on just 1 second, Bree. Let me make one quick adjustment. Okay, perfect. All right, I love that you mentioned the play aspect of it, and then immediately made me think of hula hooping. So can you share just how, I'm sure there is a connection between hula hooping and inner child work, and I would love to hear a little bit more about that from you.
Yes, it's so funny. The typical things that kids could do that girls could do as a kid, I couldn't. I couldn't double dutch, I couldn't hula hoop. That just wasn't my jam. And so it's so funny that in 2020, November of 2020, deciding I want to hula hoop and just grabbing one. I call it a trainer one, the weighted one, and being able to do it just felt, I was so happy. Like, oh my God, I can hula hoop. Oh my God. And it was so fun and so liberating. Hula hooping brings so many aspects. Not only is it playing, but also for women where, if you're familiar with chakras, and I know you are, we store a lot of our emotions in our hips. And so when we hula hoop, we're moving energy around. Sometimes it's stuck energy that just needs a little attention and moves around. Sometimes it's just playful energy that just needs some attention. So yeah, hula hooping and any other playing type thing definitely appeals to our inner child. And what people need to understand is that the inner child never dies. Like, just because we're adults, inner child's not dead at all. Very much wants attention, very much wants to play, very much wants to be heard. And a lot of times our frustrations in this world is because we're not addressing those inner child needs, as well as just our own everyday needs. Right. And so hula hooping was such just a fun way to really just express myself, and women express themselves. You can be silly, you can be sexy, you can have one that lights up, you can have one that makes the noise of there's
Yes.
so and it really just appeals to just the fun and creativity of being a kid. And the important thing, I think, is as an adult is to not be in our head about it. As kids, we weren't worried about how many times that hoop fell. We just pick it back up and keep going. And I've definitely seen women in some of my hula hoop groups get frustrated and just like stop. And I'm just like, it's okay. Just part of being a child is the wonder, the curiosity. Like there's no judgment. Like so back off. Like it's okay. Like just enjoy what it is. Just keep picking it up. And I love that I had one student who hula hoop, not student, but one young lady was hula hooping with us. She dropped that hoop about 50 times, but she kept picking it up.
Yes.
And she kept going. And then when she would get her win, she'd be like, oh, but, and that's how it should be. You know what I mean? So yeah, hula hooping is super dope for pleasing that inner child.
Yes. And there's so many gems that you just dropped in that short snippet discussing hula hooping. One of my favorite, and good morning, Fergie. Thank you for being here, beloved. One of my favorite things is, going back to that childlike wonder of just being very present and enjoying what you're doing. Because again, when you were hula hooping as a child, it wasn't, maybe you were counting, but you weren't counting to like keep score. You weren't counting to compete with someone. Like I wasn't calling you on the phone like, hey, Bree, I got 37 hula hoops today. How many did you get? You know what I mean? Like, and then if you said 38, all of a sudden I was feeling bad about myself.
Right.
I didn't equate any type of value, my personal value, to how many times I dropped the hula hoop, how long I kept it up, et cetera, et cetera. And there's just so many aspects of our lives that would be so much simpler if we just invoked, I'm not sure if that's the word, but if we changed our perception and saw it more as a child. If we let that play happen, if we let that joy happen, and was, we're not so attached to the end result of I have to do it this many times, or I have to keep it up, otherwise I'm not a good hula hooper. When in reality, as long as you're hula hooping, you're a good hula hooper.
Exactly.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
I definitely encourage my clients. There's a lot of times I say, I want you to enter this situation with curiosity and wonder.
Yes.
Just be open. Like, look at it like a child. Children are so amazed by like everything.
Yes.
Like they're just like, oh my gosh, what's this? What's that? Or whatever. Even if they don't like something, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't like it. But hey, what's over here?
Yeah.
They keep it moving.
Yes.
They keep it moving.
Absolutely.
And we lose that, because we get scarred. There's trauma, we have fears, we don't want it to happen again, so we're guarded, and we lose that wonder, and that really like harms us. That really like dims our light, because the world is meant to be explored,
right.
And obviously we don't want to be too much like a child. What's coming to mind right now is that Will Ferrell movie Elf, when he's just like a big okay. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Like that's a little bit too far because you can get harmed.
Right.
but you definitely have to have some wonder and some curiosity, but also just being a responsible adult to realize, okay, let me not just be out here trusting everybody.
Excuse me. I love that movie as an example because there were a lot of aspects of him as that character where, was it his dad or the other male actor, the older guy, who would just get so annoyed,
That was his dad. That was his real dad.
Okay. Yeah. That's what it was. He would get so annoyed at like the things that he said and the things that he did and the ways that he behaved. And a part of me understood, of course, as a mother, it was like, I get it, it's a lot. And good morning, Raylene. Welcome in. Well, good afternoon for you. But it reminded me of, of a post that I saw, I don't know, maybe last night or this morning, that said, just because I'm annoyed by my children doesn't mean that they're being annoying, And I think that really connects to our inner child not being healed, because we perceive the things that they're doing as, you're being so extra, you're moving around way too much, you're making too much noise, so all we can see it as is the way that it's impacting us.
Yeah.
But we don't see it as objectively as just, what they're doing. They're exploring a couch, making a fort, or they're hula hooping and they're just excited that they were able to hold it up, for 3 rounds, and so they're cheering and they're excited. Oh, bless you. My baby is going through it right now. He is on the struggle bus. But yeah, I hear that. And it's interesting too. Another thing that comes to mind for me is the fact that people or adults who seem to have a little bit more, I would say a deeper connection with their inner child and communicate with their inner child, often a lot of us, perceive them as being too happy or too playful or having an inability to take things seriously, And can you think of anyone in your life who maybe fits that description, or someone that you've met or encountered that kind of feels that way?
Well, let me just say there's definitely a difference between being in tune with your inner child and being emotionally unintelligent. Because there was someone in my life that I thought of who seemed from the outside very fun and very much in tune with his inner child, but I know him very well, and I know he is unable to emote, unable to connect with his feelings, unable like the heavy feelings. The happy ones, he got it.
Right.
But anything that's like heavy, grief, sadness, any of that, cannot. And so yeah, it definitely, and again, I think it comes from, when this is what you do, you see that and you're just like, this is good, but I know there's other stuff, going on or whatever. And not in a judgment way, but just observation, just noticing. And it just helps me just to be able to observe that. But yeah, folks that really tend to the needs of their inner child are overall more happy. Just because, again, the walls are down, they're vulnerable, they're free. I definitely have my clients sit and do inner child healing activities where they either get a picture of themselves at the age that they felt the most pain, and needed someone, or sometimes they get dolls that look like them. Some will just do mental, but a lot of them like something physical, and I'll have them sit with it, and it's, let's have this conversation with this inner child, and let's talk about, what did she need? What did he need back in the day that he or she didn't get? Let's hear that, and let's see if we can give that to him or her now to help bridge that gap. And again, people are always amazed, like, how is this stuff still affecting me? Because those were very formative years of your life. Like, absolutely. I wish parents and people, myself included, were told how important what we do with these little people is. It sets them up for the rest of their lives. Like, I really just thought personalities came later. They just figure it out later. And it's not that. It's what I'm doing to you when you're 0, 1, 2, 3. It's all of these things. And really at that age, super formative. So when there is some things missing and you're not getting your needs met, it's definitely an impact that will follow you through the rest of your life. And so it's important to look back at that and just check in with it. Even if you had a good childhood, it's still important to check in, because even if you have parents that loved you and it was wonderful, even if they didn't love you in your love language, that's going to be an issue.
Right.
It's going to, because if they were giving you gifts, and all you wanted was time, but they were wonderful people, you're still you didn't get your need met. And we need to check in with that, so you're not carrying this forward. So, yeah.
Absolutely. There are so many things. I wish I could make mental notes of the 4 things that you said. No. It's okay, because Raylene asked a question, and so I want to get to her question.
Okay.
But I really love, first and foremost, the tangible aspect of, because now I want to do it. Now I want to go look at a picture of myself from that year or time or whatever. For me, I remember the house that we lived in. That's the thing that imprinted in my mind. And speak to young Doña and be like, baby girl, let's talk about it. But I also love the tangible of having a doll, so that you can hold it in your hand, or even both, hold it in your hand, maybe caress her, hug her, whatever, him or her. But Raylene asked, what would a person who is connected with their inner child act like?
What would they act like? And it's not about immaturity or anything. It's just someone that is able to, they can be serious, they can be fun. They're just
Mm-hmm.
more well balanced. They don't have a problem, you know, they don't embarrass easily.
Mm,
They're willing to try new things.
right.
Um, they're able to say what they like and what they don't like. There's a lot of emotional intelligence in being attached to your inner child, because children are the most honest people on this earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They know what they like and what they don't like, and they say it.
Yep.
And the more that we're connected with that, the more we live, in an authentic space.
Right.
Um, Let me know if that did not answer your question.
Yeah, Raylene says, yeah, like more well rounded and healthy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I love the
yeah,
point that you brought up, Sabrina, about being able to say what they like and don't like, because again, children have that until we squish it out of them.
yeah,
If we squish it out of them, you know what I mean? Which 9 times out of 10 we do,
yeah.
because our parents squished it out of us.
Right.
Something comes to mind in this conversation, though. There's this man that's gone viral. Essentially, it seemed like he was on a talk show or something, and he was blaming his mother for spoiling him. He said, and I'm just going like super, super succinct version because I didn't actually watch the video, but my perception and my understanding is that he blames his mom because she spoiled him with material things, and that um, kind of attracted fake friends for him. It attracted people who only wanted to be around him for his physical possessions. And I'm assuming, there was no depth to their relationship. But for me, when I hear that, it goes directly to what you're saying as far as your needs not being met. Your parents are giving you all of these things, but that's not what you need. So if you could just share a little bit about, your thoughts on that, and maybe if that person was your client, kind of what conversations you would have with them.
So yeah, one of the first things I do with all my clients is, what is your love language? And I make them take the test right then and there. I mean, during that session or that week or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just because it changes. If you were in a relationship 6 months ago and it was one thing, it could very well be different now that you're single. Like
Right.
it can change, and it's okay. So the first step is just learning your love language, because when it comes to self-care, you have to love you in your love language.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, we discover that, and then we can go back to, was this what you liked as a kid? Like, did you like quality time as a kid? Did you like whatever, and we start, sitting with that. And then we discover, okay, did you get that? Okay, you didn't get that. All right.
Right.
So okay, how do we heal that? Well, I want you to, so let's say it's quality time. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't get quality time. Okay, I want you to sit with your child, with yourself, with your
Mm-hmm.
7-year-old self, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
age, and give her quality time. Hey, little Doña, what do you want to do today? You want to play jacks? Let's
Yeah.
play jacks. And definitely this is a visualization exercise,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important. And so giving yourself what you needed, then and now, is just super important. But you have to. But a lot of times we don't know how, and that's the importance of coaches or
Right.
counselors, is to
Right.
give you the roadmap to, because it's not hard to do what I'm. Long as you're open to do it, it's not hard what I'm saying. But you just need a map. Like, how do I talk to my inner child? This feels weird. Like, oh my God, this is
Right.
uncomfortable. Like, people cry a lot when they do it. They feel uncomfortable. They avoid it. So sometimes, if I notice I've given you this assignment 3 times in a row and you haven't done it, I'm like, okay, so during today's session, we're actually going to do it together. And most of the
Right.
time they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, because they're nervous, they're afraid, it feels weird, they're
Mm-hmm.
scared. And that even shows the inner child right there, is just like, afraid to sit with yourself. So yeah, it's literally talking to your inner child and listening to what they want, which is
Mm-hmm.
you. It's still you.
Right.
It's still you, but it's just like, hey, you are in the spotlight, and I want to hear, what you want, or what you need. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, like I said, it's a dope process. It can be a little, like I said, it can feel a little scary, but with the right person guiding you, it's fantastic.
Right. Absolutely. Raylene says that's really interesting with there being a good parent who just doesn't understand or use your love language. Never thought of it that way. Absolutely. And, you know, like Bree, you and I were talking about, I think it was in one of our voice messages, about the example of the overbearing parent, you know, the overprotective parent, who their intentions are 100% great. They want to make sure, like, look, baby Kairu, I don't ever want you to sit on your own because you could fall off. You know, you could fall out of the chair, or you could roll and hit your head or whatever. So I'm just going to hold you forever.
Right.
And ever.
Right.
I will never put you down. He's already mad. He's like, put me down. You know, and my intentions are great. I want to keep my child protected. I want to keep him safe. I want to be sure that he never has to, you know, get hurt or what have you. But to your point, you can go ahead and share, you know, kind of what we discussed about how damaging that could be.
Yeah. And the thing we have to realize as parents is sometimes what we are calling protection is our fears just spilling out everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's okay. Like, some fears make sense. Let me not give this baby this fork because he's 3 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that makes sense. Yeah. Let's not experiment with that.
Right.
But others, so we have to check in with ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, and even if it's what's the worst case scenario? If I put him down on his tummy, okay, let me create a fence, if you will, or, you know, whatever. Like, he can't climb over the pillows. I'm not going to leave the room. Like, let me check the floors. There's no Legos from the other kid on the floor. Okay, let me relax, because baby needs tummy time. He needs to get those muscles going. Like, let me just relax. And so it's definitely about learning to relax and understand, again, that we're handicapping our children, you know. But again, most of us don't realize that until after the fact. And so we have to just be open to say, okay, children are meant to explore. Like, that's how they learn. Especially babies, everything goes in the mouth. That's how they learn. Like, that's just what they do. Like, so that's, get that out your mouth. It's just like, no, get it out of his reach. You know what I mean? Do your job, mom. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's okay. So yeah, it's super important to be emotionally intelligent and check in with your own fears. And it's super nice to have like a partner in the house. So like, if something is just, you're just not good at, I'm not good when the baby wants to crawl, like I get so freaked out and worried, then your partner can be like, let me do tummy time. You go do something. I mean, just as an example, you know, you go do something else, just so the baby actually gets what he needs by someone who's not like, you know, that energy, meow, 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 you know, because babies, they detect stuff better than anybody. And, you know, children, babies, so you over in the corner like, they're like, what the hell's wrong with mom?
Rubbing your earlobes like, oh, singing a psalm. Oh.
Right. So we have to get it together. And if we can't, we have to employ somebody in the village that can, because it's important that we allow these babies to exist. And when I say babies, that means children too. Exist, explore, play. Again, if you need baby's auntie to come, let auntie come and play and take them. But you know, we have to get out the way of our children and realize what's hindering and what's helping.
Absolutely. And I want to take it back a little bit to what you mentioned about a lot of your clients crying and just being kind of nervous and fearful about connecting with their inner child and having those conversations. In a previous conversation with my longtime friend Diana, she's actually studying to be a clinical psychologist. So our conversation was kind of like, ask a therapist in training anything. I was sharing with her a TikTok that I saw of this Black male therapist. His name is Professor Odie. And someone had wrote a comment on one of his TikToks that said, you know, I tried therapy once and I found myself even angrier, you know? And he shared, well, that makes sense, because now, and so did she, you know, she shared these emotions and these things that we've been avoiding for so long, we are now bringing to the forefront and we're addressing them. So not only are we addressing them, but now we're also being given tools, you know, by our emotional wellness coach to be more emotionally intelligent, you know, to be more emotionally aware, to do all of these things. And we're peeling back these layers, and we, just so many things that you already shared, you know, we've been so guarded already. We're peeling back these layers, and we are leaving ourselves exposed, and with every conversation and every tool and every exercise, we're peeling it away, peeling it away, peeling it away. So what are some things that you do as far as supporting your clients, or even just having a conversation to kind of help them get through that initial, burn of starting something new?
It, it definitely helps, just like I said, sometimes just to actually do it together instead of making it like a homework assignment. Let's do it, together, and just say, hey, whatever you feel is okay, and even when it comes time to like connecting things with parents who they love and whatever, I'm just like, whatever you feel is what you feel. Don't try to like suppress it because your mom is a good mom and she did her best. Yeah, we get it. We get it. We're not here to destroy her, but we need to be honest with the situation and be okay with it. We don't have to call her up and confront her and be like, why did you do da 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 when I was 6? Like,
how dare you?
No, we don't have to. If that's what you want to do, that's cool, but let's do that in a healthy way.
Right.
But let us let's sit with it. You know what I mean? Sit with it. And the thing is, what is, why are people fearful? Like I said, when people start crying because, like you said, they've just kind of covered that up with a blanket and shoved it in the corner and it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And then I come in there like, yo, what's this? I mean,
this blanket seems out of place.
Right. I do it in a little softer way. And they're like, oh, that? I don't know, and it's just like, let's look at it together.
That's just always been there. I don't know.
Yeah. And usually by then I've already heard some of the childhood pain, you know what I mean? So we've already discussed. So I'm just like, hey, well, how did you feel when this happened or whatever? I felt like this, that. Okay, well, what did you need at that time? What would have been helpful? And we just kind of just walk through it until I sense they feel more comfortable. Right. And then it might be, okay, now I want you to take the baton and on your own with your journal, I want you to think a little bit more about this, or think about, what can we say to her? What would be comforting now that we've pulled all this stuff up? Yeah. What would be nice to hear? What would make her feel seen and heard? What would make her feel loved? I mean, even when I've done inner child visualizations, a lot of times it's me visualizing my childhood self sitting in my lap and I'm just holding her and we're not even really talking about much or whatever, just because that's what she seemed to want and she was okay sitting in my lap, and so that's what we did. You know what I mean? So it's just an intuitive thing. And again, being emotionally intelligent and just being in awareness of your emotions and even just accepting them makes it easier to do something like that. Being able to say, well, I think she just wants to sit in my lap, so I'm gonna sit her in my lap, and that's what we do. So yeah, again, these aren't things that people talk about, so it seems weird. You know what I mean? It does seem weird. It does seem unapproachable, but it's just like, hey, let me just kind of walk you through it or whatever. But ultimately, I want them to feel empowered to do it with themselves, because it's a very personal journey. You know what I mean? I'm here to help, and I'm happy with anything, and I create the safe space. But I want them to feel empowered to be able to do this when I'm not around. If something comes up. So yeah.
Absolutely. And as you're sharing this, as far as your inner child just sitting in your lap, that resonates with me so deeply, because as I've shared with you and on the stream too, my mother was and is still very completely, not only like emotionally unavailable, but it's like emotions are meant to be avoided, to the point where if she's having a conversation with someone and they begin to cry, she's like, oh, this conversation's over. Yeah. Like there's no and I've shared before, sometimes when we cry, depending on, you got the cry where you're just like, and this was really hard, and you got the, you know what I mean? So there are situations in which you cry and the conversation is kind of over, but I've kind of encouraged her. What I've done is I've confronted her about the things that she struggles with. So now, which she shares with me, and I haven't actually seen it in action, but she'll say, I'll tell so and so to, take a break or take a moment and then come back to me when they're done crying or when they can actually continue the conversation instead of her just fleeing.
Okay.
But said all that to say, there's been so many times where, I've needed to just like, or I've wanted to just like sit in my mom's lap and just like, just rest in her bosom. Cause she got bosom. I ain't got no bosom. And just the thought of that feels comforting. Like I have a cousin of mine, Hannah, who also has a great bosom, and I just be wanting to cuddle up with her, and I can, so I'm noticing that that's one of the reasons why I am drawn to my cousin, because I can cuddle with her. And you and I have had the conversation about us cuddling together and just being able to have the touch and comfort of another woman, because we haven't been able to do that or get that in our childhood. It's one thing to get it from your partner, from your male partner, and that's beautiful as well. Yeah. But to have that nurturing, mothering touch of just being able to like cuddle and like lay in her lap or sit in her lap or just, rest your head on her chest or whatever from a mother, from another woman is just completely, it's different. So if you'd like to, share your thoughts about anything, welcome in, Michaela, about that like mothering, kind of nurturing, feminine aspect of it too. That'd be beautiful.
I love that you have that with your cousin. That's super dope. I will say, just as an aside, and you might have to pull me back real quick, but lap time, that's where lap time came from.
Exactly.
So you all may or may not know, Doña and I do this thing with our partners called lap time. And for me, lap time started because I had this urge for years to like sit in my partner's lap. And I tried it and it was always weird. Like I just, I would try different positions. It just felt dumb. It just didn't feel right. Like I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go cook dinner now. So, but then the gentleman I was with before I married my husband, I tried it differently. I tried it heart to heart. But I had also learned from my intuitive coach the purpose of a hug. Purpose of a hug is for two hearts to touch and to interact with each other. When hugging was something I didn't do a lot of. And so she helped me understand like the importance of it. And so I brought that to a partner and sat in his lap and we're facing each other and we're heart to heart. And I just melted into him. You know what I mean? It just felt so comforting and soothing, not to the adult me, but to the child me. Right. Who never really had that, from anyone, like, my mom hugged me. I knew she loved me. I get it. But like, just to sit in even like my father's or my stepfather's lap, like none of that, like nobody's lap. And so that I can remember, of course, I'm sure when I was Kairu's age, I'm sure I was in everybody's lap, but,
right.
I don't remember that. And so, that connection of addressing my inner child need to sit in a lap and feel comforting. And it definitely turned into a thing where if I'm off, like if I'm feeling funky or whatever, I have to remember I need lap time. And I'll be like, call my husband, like, we need no lap time. He's like, okay, and he sits down and let's go, and it's great. And now, he reaches for me for it. Like, hey, I need some lap time. Can we get this in? And it's definitely tending to our inner children's need, just that safeness, comfort, warmth, that's necessary. Before I switch over to the woman part, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just like totally in agreement. I'm like, yes,
okay.
Yes, continue.
There's definitely a thing, mother wounds. Mother wounds are very real. And let's just be honest, for most of us, our mother was our primary caregiver. So that's the one we had the most touch points, the most contact with. And so unfortunately, that can be the one that can give us the deepest pain. Exactly. Not because they were cruel people, but just because, as we said earlier, if I need quality time and you're giving me gifts, I'm going to be off in my body and I may not even know it until it's way later in life. And so it is important to address that connection. Like humans need other humans, and we should be able as women to connect and sit and feel safe and vulnerable. For some of us, safeness just is I just need you to listen and not judge me. And that
Mhm.
feels fantastic. Others of us are like, can I get that lap? Because I want to sit in your lap and
Right.
just feel your warmth and sit in your energy. And
Mhm.
it's important to do that again without bashing yourself. Like, why do I want to sit in my cousin's lap? Like,
Yeah.
there's somebody. It's
Absolutely.
somebody
Because
that
even
would
just
hear
saying that
that.
out loud, I'm like, could I tell? Like, who could I really tell? I know I could tell you this,
Yeah,
but who could I tell? Like, man, I just get so much comfort and joy from sitting in my cousins out there. Like,
right.
y'all,
What?
y'all incest? What is this? What?
Exactly. Again, because we just don't know any better.
Yeah.
And so we have to be open, you know what I mean? And be open to what feels good. My thing is, does it feel good? Are you harming anybody? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're not harming yourself, you're not harming anybody else. And again, but you got to be really clear on what harm looks like, because harm can be very subtle. And even
Absolutely.
that subtle stuff is important. So if I'm not harming anybody, and this is, it's helping me, nobody else matters, and it's none of their
Right.
business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Raylene shares, that's so true. Hugging is otherworldly. The way something known as being so simple can make you feel so comforted and grounded is the best. And to that point, Joan said, I want to be a hug.
Aww.
Jonesy's a great hugger. And I encourage all of y'all to really, the next time you hug someone, squeeze them and stay in it for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do the whole, hey, what's up, fam? You know what I mean? Like, sit in it. And to Sabrina's point, make it a heart to heart, chest to chest hug. Don't do the whole side,
Yeah.
church hug, the gangster hug. Give them, you know what I mean? Put your
Yeah.
chin on their shoulder or on their chest, depending on, height differences. Because if
Right.
I'm hugging Sabrina,
Yeah, I'm gonna
her
be
head
down
is
here.
here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be down there.
my chin on her head.
You're right. And that's
but
cool.
but there's still, there's a loving embrace. Maybe there's like Grover always, he rubs my back all the time when we hug, and I'm just like, yes. Yeah, and that's the benefit of lap time is you can really, really melt into it. With a hug, you kind of, sometimes you gotta like shift your feet.
Yeah.
You've been standing so long.
Right.
Your legs starting to get tired, but you want to continue the hug.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're already seated, if you're in the lap time position, then it allows you to just melt and just be there. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna start crying. Like, it's just gonna happen. And a lot of times it really is like a deep breath, a deep sigh.
Really.
Fergie said hugs are the best. I feel off if I don't get at least a hug a day. I feel
That's
that.
yeah, that's real.
Excuse me. I feel that so much. And of course, anybody else in the chat, if y'all have questions for Sabrina, again, she's an emotional wellness coach. She's extremely intelligent, extremely well versed. She's been around the world. I know she's been here before. This is not her first lifetime. Like, I know it to be true. But the things and you know what? We could have a whole stream just on how much my relationship with Sabrina and just meeting her on Instagram, y'all, how incredible and important she has been in my growth journey, because y'all, but we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about inner child stuff.
But samesies, we came to each other at a time. We both needed somebody.
Yes.
And we just was like, we just took off.
Yes. So I'm saying, if y'all see anybody on Instagram or TikTok and you feel like sliding their DMs, just do it. Just do it.
All day.
Your intuition knows. Your intuition knows what you need. You know what I mean? It's your ancestors really calling you. So you do it. I'm sure I had a question.
Okay, I know we're all over, but it's good. But yeah, those hugs are important, and
Yes.
I definitely challenge people to like a 30-second hug with someone. Like, people break down.
Yes.
It's emotionally, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's overwhelming. And that's okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, particularly if there's someone that there's some history with and some issues. Like, I challenged one of my friends to hug her mom for 30 seconds, and she just was like, nah, no, I can't, because she tried. She was just like, I couldn't make it past a few seconds. She's like, I just can't, because she knows she's just gonna break down, because there's just been a lot in
Yeah.
their relationship, and she loves her mom so much, and she respects her so much to her own detriment,
Mm-hmm.
and she's held a lot in, because this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the mother tells me, so whatever she says is what it
Right.
is. But she's carried a lot of pain, and I was, inviting her to do that as a way to kind of let it out, and she just was like, nah,
Yeah.
I can't. I tried, I can't, I'm done, I can't. And I'm like, that's okay, and that's totally fine, but it just, confirmed that she really needed it. You know what I mean? She really did
Exactly.
need it, but she was just like, I can't let this stuff up and out. I can't. And that's a shame. And even if you can't find a safe space with somebody that should be your safe space, you got to find safe space somewhere else. Like,
Yes.
we all need a safe space to fall into, and it could be someone that you're not even close to. Like I've mentioned before on my page, people slide in my DMs who I don't even know their last name, but they will tell me the most intimate stuff because I'm a safe space for them, and I'm
Absolutely.
happy. I'm happy to do that, and it's so important. And we all have somebody,
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have somebody, please find somebody. And I'm all about, if you right, I'm all about, if you can't find someone organically, you can absolutely outsource it and pay somebody, as Donya just
Yes.
pointed out.
Absolutely.
I'm all about
Absolutely.
outsourcing anything in your life that you need help with, because we all
Yeah.
deserve rest, relaxation, luxury, whatever you want to call it. You deserve a break. And so if you need
Absolutely.
you need a safe space and can't nobody give it for you, there are plenty of professionals out here that would love to do that and can give you that, no questions asked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fergie shared real quick, at work, people know that if they're feeling any type of way, they can just come to me and hug me. I'm
Oh,
short and I have tall people come sit in the chair beside me and hug me and lay their head
oh,
on my chest. It makes me feel calm and loved and welcome. Fergie Boo.
I like Fergie. I want to be my friend.
Right, right. Fergie is a whole vibe. Oh my goodness gracious. I love Fergie, the bits and pieces. Raylene too. I love Raylene. But there's a certain aspect of me loving Fergie because I know what she looks like.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
understood.
So I can see
Understood.
the
Yes.
comfort in her spirit, in her face, just all over. Before I forget, I wanted to share or bring back up a couple streams ago. I would love to be your friend, says Fergie. I'm gonna put her contact information in the chat, y'all. Don't play me. I'm gonna drop her TikTok in a second. Um, a couple of streams ago, actually this is probably a couple weeks ago now, I was talking about a an episode of Red Table Talk where they were talking about something called mother hunger. And
Ooh.
just, I mean, exactly to your point, mothers are our first loves, and so a lot rides on that relationship.
Yeah.
And the psychologist, I believe she's a psychologist, trauma therapist, I forget her name. She was
Okay.
sharing that the three things that clinical psychology has come to kind of pin down as what mothers are supposed to provide to their children are guidance, protection, and nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
To our point as Black women, a lot of times we are protected in some aspects by our mothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of it comes from survival mode. You know what I mean? You have clothes
Mm-hmm.
on your back, you have food in your belly, you have a roof over your head.
Yep.
You should be happy. Everything should be good.
Right.
All your needs are met, when in reality there is not one emotional aspect included in there at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we grow up with mothers that are in that mindset or in that survivalist mentality, they don't even see our cries for help. Like, I would ask my
Mm.
mom all the time. My brothers would have these like outbursts and just like be really angry and argue and things like that, and I would say, Mom, we need to have a family meeting. Like, we need to all get
Mm.
together and just talk. And
Yeah.
it would frustrate me because my mom, it was just my mom. I grew up in a single parent home. So here she is, the top of the pyramid as the matriarch, and her responses almost made it seem like she wasn't capable of doing that. You know what I mean? When in
Mm. Mm-hmm.
reality, I think a lot of it was, to some points that you shared, she just didn't have the emotional space for it, because I believe she really would have broken down. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that she would have internalized a lot of it and
Mm-hmm.
thought, whatever is going on here is my fault.
Mm.
And it's like, I mean, you play a role, but we all have to be responsible for our behavior, but we don't
Yeah.
know how to remedy this unless we have conversations about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
my twin brother will never know how the things that he says make me feel unless we talk about it,
Right.
you know, in a safe space,
Right.
you know. But growing up, and I know you can attest this too, Bree, mental health was way more stigmatized than it is. You know, I feel like we've really broken down a lot of barriers over the last couple of years. So it was like, I didn't even think to say, hey, Mom, can we go get a family therapist? Or can we see a family therapist? You know, my remedy was, let's have a family meeting and, you know, just at least talk about it.
Right.
But
yeah.
And
the one thing we have to remember for a lot of us, and I know this isn't strictly for the Black community, but it's the only community that I'm familiar with, but our parenting style came from slavery. You know, it came from trauma and pain and whatever. And I know we're not the only group that have experienced that, but definitely for us. And so, you know, a child being seen and heard, like, no. I mean, because there were times where if a child was seen and heard, death could come to the child, to the family, to whatever, or they're separated or broken or whatever. And so a lot of times, Black mothers are moving from very fearful places because that's what was taught to them.
Right.
And honestly, and I know people are like, oh, I'm tired of hearing about slavery, but you can't be, because this is still in our DNA. You know, we're still feeling the effects of it. You know what I mean? You know, whipping our children, that's definitely what slave masters did to us to keep us in line. So some of it is simply following what the slave masters did, and some of it was survival techniques. And what I try to get people to understand is, you know, I've been saying we're not slaves anymore for decades, and mostly it was towards soul food. I'm like, we don't have to eat that anymore. That was where I first started it. But now I say it in the sense of, you're safe. And I get it. That word is very loose, because we are aware that there are attacks on the Black men in our community, and you know, I get it. I'm not naive, but what I say is, at the crib, you can be a safe space. You can your kids can get what they need. You can get what you need, and it doesn't have to involve violence or belittling. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not how we are meant to interact with people. And you know, it's important that we shift out of that as much as possible, which I think is what is happening now. So like you were saying, the stigma of mental health or whatever, the mental health was then, the wellness was, you forget it and move on. Like, you don't have a choice. I need to survive. We don't have to do that anymore, because that doesn't heal anything. It doesn't help us. It gets us, we can keep going forward and get stuff done, but there's more to our existence than getting stuff done. And we have to be open to, you know, sitting with ourselves and examining things. And I tend to think children are a great magnifier when we have some self-awareness. So if my child comes to me and says, I need a family meeting, you know, I'm going to be like, oh, what's this? You know what I mean? What, you know what I mean? The surface thing of, let's talk together in a group. I'm going to be proud, like whatever. But then I'm going to be like, oh shit, what's going on? Like, there may be some other stuff going on here that needs to be addressed. But that's only because of my own awareness. You know what I mean? So I know your mom did the best that she could with what she had, but we definitely need to get out of that. And the awesome thing is, Doña is clearly breaking the generational curse on that situation, among others. You know, she's definitely breaking it, and which is wonderful. So her children will never experience, you know, that or whatever. Does this mean Doña's perfect? No, but she's one of the best moms I've ever seen. I'm just like, can you just take my kid? And I'm sometimes like, she has.
Absolutely. Send him over.
just help him, please. And she does. So yeah, it's just important to be in that awareness and just want to do better. And again, reach out, because there's others out here who want to do better, who know how to do better. And this is just how we raise the collective, because we don't have to be what our parents were, what our grandparents were, none of that. Like, we can do things differently and more from a heart-centered space and less from a survival space.
Yes, absolutely. And real quick chat, I went ahead and dropped Spiritual Auntie Bree's TikTok and her Instagram. I put both because messaging on TikTok is weird to me. Like,
it is.
It's strange. It's real strange.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It's so weird. So if you want to have a more direct conversation with her, Instagram, I feel like is easier.
Yeah.
Facebook too, but I was trying to be engaging and not look for links to copy while I'm in this conversation. But yeah, TikTok has amazing content. She is teaching, she is preaching, she is sharing, she's doing all these wonderful things. But if you want to contact her, it might be easier to do so on Instagram, just because of the app itself.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and the beautiful thing I believe that has come about me going through this healing journey and being willing to admit that whatever I was doing before wasn't working, and that's okay. You know, in addition to, you know, us being comfortable with accepting the fact that we don't have to be who our ancestors were, we don't have to be who our parents were, is being okay with the fact that, oh, where did it go? My thought just dissipated. Being okay with, not having it all figured out.
Yeah.
We are so obsessed in this culture with like putting an age on everything and saying, all right, well, as soon as you turn 23, you should know the way. No, first of all, how much more life should you be living after the age of 23? Like, how many experiences can you really say that you've had in the first 23 years of your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of it is based on how, you know, what your parents allowed you to do and what you were exposed to. But being really, really comfortable with the fact that I don't have it all figured out, and every day is just another day to practice.
Yeah.
That's it. Just another day to practice. Because like Bree said, as long as you want to do better and are taking actions to move, because, you know, you can't just, I want to do better and just sit there. You gotta do something, even if it's small things, even if it's changing your mindset, even if it's changing the way that you speak to yourself, even if it's connecting with your inner child, or even just being willing to connect with your inner child, contacting or hiring an emotional wellness coach to say, you know what, I want to do this, but I don't know where to start. And that's okay. It is completely okay not to know where to start, because I'm afraid to tell you that none of these problems are new.
Right.
None of these problems are new. They might feel new to you, you know, because now they're on the surface. They're kind of beating you up a little bit, so they feel new. They feel urgent. They feel important. But there are those of us that have experienced it, you know, and we can guide you through. Not to say that you're not going to go through it, but at least now you can go through it with coping mechanisms. You can go through it with someone who knows, you know, what's going to happen next. Like, oh, okay, here's what you've gone through. You know, next it's going to get tough. You know, now that we start peeling back the layers, I want to let you know it's going to get tough, because to go through it completely on your own, it's just not feasible. You know, it's just not feasible. It's going to end in frustration. You might get to a certain point and then feel like you can't continue because you just don't know what's next.
Right.
You know, but even just starting with that level of awareness is probably going to guide you towards seeking some support and some guidance from someone. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. You know, that's a whole nother layer, again, you know, in the Black community, as far as what I like to talk about is, you know, the superwoman schema, not allowing ourselves to ask for help, you know, believing that, how did I put it one time? It was from another Red Table Talk. We place more importance on the role of being a helper versus being helped. So we are so down to give, and it equates to how we value ourselves. You know, if I can't give and be something to someone, what good am I?
Yep.
But it's like, well, if you can't accept the help that someone else is trying to give you, you know, how are we supposed to have a community of reciprocity and of interdependence, you know? Raylene says, I had a question, but I don't know if it makes sense, so bear with me. Have you, as a coach, ever had the urge to have the client's parent as someone you also work with? Oh, okay, that makes sense. You know so much about that person from your client, so do you ever want to help beyond what you're hired for? It's a good question.
Yes, actually, it's funny you should mention that. Well, let me take it one direction. I have a client this evening. We're gonna prepare to bring her daughter in. I think next week. So we're just working with her this week. Then we're gonna pull her in. But she's clearly said, I just want a better relationship with my daughter. Like I want to do better. And I'm like, okay, cool. But sometimes I'm just going over my little people real quick and thinking about the moms. It's a rarity that I want to pull the moms in because I feel like I equip my clients to be able to stand up for themselves and say whatever it is that needs to be said. But I also equip them with, okay, you're deciding to talk to your mom about something. Cool. Have no expectations. You don't get your feelings hurt. You know what I mean? Like, don't have any expectations. Just, I like to liken it as your parent put something on you and you just want to give it back to them. I just want to return the sender. So you gave me this complex or this whatever. And I just want to say, hey, mom, I love you and I appreciate you, but you gave me this and I don't really want it. So I just want to make you aware I'm done. I don't, I just, whatever. It doesn't sound like that, but that's, metaphorically what we're doing. But we're not looking for mom to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, or let me fix it, or anything. We're just returning the energy back to the sender and just making them aware. It's up to mom if she wants to do better or get help or talk more about it. Like, we're not looking for anything. And it's hard to get people there because people want the I'm sorry's and they want, I had one client for a minute in the beginning. She was just like, I don't even want to have to do this inner child work. Like, why do I have to do this? Like saying like, it's not my fault. Why am I stuck with this? And I'm just like, because nobody else can help you, honey. Like, you got to heal you. Your mama is not going to heal you. You cannot go to the hands. And I'm not saying her mom broke her, but there's a saying, you can't go to the hands that broke you to fix you. Like, that's typically not how it goes. It does happen sometimes, but ultimately it's up to us. We can't just keep blaming mom and dad for stuff. Like, we can be in awareness that, well, if these things didn't happen, I wouldn't have been in this situation. But at some point it's like, okay, well, I got to fix this. I can't fix mom and dad or whatever. I can't turn back the hands of time. I need to focus on this. So I just focus on empowering them. And then they go and they'll talk and then they'll come back to me and say, well, yeah, I said this to my mom. And I could tell she was uncomfortable as hell. She just kind of smiled a lot and nodded and didn't really say much. And I was like, that's okay. I was like, well, how did that make you feel? She's like, they're like, oh, it's okay. But again, we'd already talked about what it's going to look like, what it could look like. So it wasn't a surprise that they didn't get the, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Let me just love you and whatever. So yeah, my thing is, if mama want to come holler at me, I got mama too. But my job my client is my priority and I've got to keep her safe. And so that's always my focus. So there's not been a need. And if I do feel someone's toxic, I say it. I'm like, you might need to distance yourself from this person because they're not going to understand what you're doing. They're not going to support it. And you need to be okay with that. But you need to move around for now. Not forever. That's your decision. But for now, just focus on you for right now and just create a little distance right now. And but a lot of times people will distance themselves from the people that have harmed them without me having to say anything, because as we start talking and revealing things, like you say, the anger comes out, they're connecting dots, they're realizing, ooh, let me create some space. And like I say, I never encourage anybody to stay away forever. And I also never encourage my clients to forgive anybody, because forgiveness don't have nothing to do with your healing. If you want to forgive them, that's because you want to do it and that's a personal choice, but you got to heal. So let's just focus on that for right now.
Right. Absolutely. Raylene says, yes, that makes sense to focus on the main client and also keeping realistic expectations. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And because old folks don't like to change.
That part. And I can see that my mom has adjusted in some ways, but facts, forgiveness shouldn't be a part of it, right? I feel you, Raylene. But there are still things that she just holds so strong onto, All right, ladies and gentlemen, mostly ladies, I'm sure. We are going to wrap up this conversation for today, but don't worry. Bree will be back. Don't you worry. For those of you that have been here in our live stream on Twitch, thank you so much for contributing to the conversation in the chat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. For those of you watching the replay on YouTube, This is my incredible friend Bree, my bestie, the bestie of bestesses. And I will drop all of her contact information in the description of this YouTube video, her website, her TikTok, her Instagram, her Facebook.
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
Facebook too.
Facebook is real fun. So yeah.
Facebook is fun. Facebook is fun. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here for today. I do my best not to go over an hour, even though we could go forever, and I'm also getting a little hungry.
Yeah,
but thank you all again. If you're catching this replay on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Play these videos back. Like I mentioned before, they play like a podcast. We are having discussions. There's baby fusses. That's okay. It's a real deal conversation. I do not edit any of these, so you get what you get. But yes, thank you, Bree, so much for being here, my love. I appreciate you. Anything you want to share before we end?
Self-care is the key. You know, self-care is the gateway to getting everything you've ever wanted in this entire world. And if you don't know how, hit up Doña or hit me up, and we can help you get there.
We got you. We got you. All right, my loves. Bree, you don't have to go, but I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. I love you all, and I will see y'all all tomorrow. Bye.